Transport for London and National Rail have been accused of secretly increasing fares after they made a series of unannounced rises. Last Sunday, a number of off-peak discounted fares were raised by up to 5%. TfL say they'd been wrongly calculated in January and it was necessary to correct them. Our political correspondent Carl Mercer has been taking a look at the figures.
When you face the daily grind, you're used to fare increases, but usually they only come around once a year, in January. But Transport for London has had to edge up around 60 fares because of a problem with its maths. At the start of the year, it introduced discounts of a third on some routes, but have now pushed prices up a little after realising they may have been a little too generous with their discount. The trouble is, they didn't tell anyone. And these days, there's always someone watching, with news of the fare rises springing up on this website.
I think TfL assumed that they'd be able to sneak out these fare rises without anybody noticing. But there's a growing number of bloggers, citizen journalists that are keeping an eye on every change, and these kind of things can't slip out the way they used to.
This is where the problems came in. If you have a discount rail card at the moment, you can merge it with your Oyster card. That means you can get a third off your off-peak journeys. Only it seems the maths have gone a little wrong. So now 5p has been added to the cost of a whole number of journeys. A single for journeys in zones 1 to 6 will now cost £1.80 instead of £1.75. And National Rail local fares for zone 1 will now cost £1 instead of 95p.
Well, I think actually they have to pay the price, this 5p or whatever it is per fare. They need to pay that over this year. We only expect to see fare increases in January, and that's what we should stick to.
Today, TfL admitted it had changed the fares due to a so-called technical issue, but it did say most passengers claiming them would still be better off than they were a year ago.
Well, I'll put up my hands and say, yeah, we should have provided a bit more publicity about this. But this is a very small issue. This is an incredibly small issue which affects a very small number of people. And you can't forget that this is a discount that became available in our system in January where it wasn't before.
We're told the maths issues are now settled, but TfL also admits it should have been more open about the reasons for putting the fares up. Carl Mercer, BBC London News.